I'm a museum collections assistant here at the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust in Stratford-upon-Avon. I'm going to give today's Shakespeare on Show blog, which is a series of blogs looking at the free newly opened exhibitions that are running across the Trust. The Shakespeare Trust, as you can imagine, has close relationships with the Royal Shakespeare Company, also here in Stratford-upon-Avon. And as such, they've borrowed some items from the Royal Shakespeare Company collection as part of one of their exhibitions, the Treasures exhibition here in the Stratford room. So as part of this, I'm going to take a look at this beautiful pair of shoes from the Royal Shakespeare's collection. And this is a pair of 19th century ladies' shoes. They've got a small heel with a leather sole, and the bulk of them are made up of these really fragile textiles which are covered with sequins and ribbons. Now you might ask, why on earth is a theatre company collecting a pair of 19th century ladies' shoes? And the reason is because these were worn by a lady called Sarah Siddons. Now Sarah was a Welsh actress from the 18th and 19th century, and she was from the Kemble family. And this is an English acting family that dominated the theatre in England in the 18th and 19th century. Now Sarah was one of the most successful actresses of her day. After a shaky start to her career, in which she spent touring England, she came back to London in the 1780s and was instantly hailed a success. And that was the start of a 20-year career in which Sarah was the dominant actress of her day. Now, although Sarah played several roles, her main role was that of Lady Macbeth, and it's believed that these shoes were worn by Sarah during her last ever performance as Lady Macbeth in 1812, which is why they're so special. Now, during that particular performance, after Sarah had given the sleepwalking scene, the famous scene that Lady Macbeth plays in Macbeth, the audience refused to allow Sarah to leave the stage, and they refused to allow the play to continue. So Sarah came back onto the stage, dressed in her own clothes, and gave a farewell speech to the audience that lasted about 8 minutes. This had never been done in the theatre before, and I don't think it's really been done since. Sarah was very tall, very beautiful, had expressive eyes, and this allowed her to play the really complex character of Lady Macbeth brilliantly. And so these shoes eventually ended up in the possession of the Shakespeare Memorial Theatre, which, when it was taken over by the RSC, became part of their collection. Another reason we've brought these shoes on display is also to highlight the unfortunate effect that an unstable environment can have on precious textiles like this. Unfortunately, the shoes were on display at the theatre without much environmental control and badly deteriorated during this time. Light is a huge enemy of textiles. Light leads to fading of textiles, it leads to embrittlement and cracking, and you can see this effect on these shoes. The ribbons at the front, they've lost their colour, the red lining around the top of the shoes has cracked and faded, and there's a very fine mesh covering the whole, which is a previous attempt to try and keep these shoes together. It's not just one factor that affects textiles, there are several. They're very, very attractive to pests, such as moths and carpet beetles. They can be distorted over time. For example, if you look at your favourite chair at home, there's probably a depression where you've been sat. So textiles are exceptionally vulnerable to damage. So here in our exhibition, we've tried to make this better by carefully controlling the environment. So you can see the lights are low, we've got them inside a display case where the environment is stable and obviously no pests can get inside. And this is one of the key parts of conserving and then allowing us to display beautiful treasures like this so that everybody can enjoy them.